Hey guys, this is Trainer Dino here, and today I'll be adding the next part to the What If Red joined Team Rocket. Before we begin this part, sorry if my voice is a bit shaky. It's because my throat is absolutely effed up right now. But I just wanted to get this part out of the way because I'm so excited about making this one. So I hope you guys enjoy. And just for today, just manage. And as soon as my throat heals, I will upload the other stories as soon as possible. This is What If Red joined Team Rocket Part 3. In the last part, we ended off with Red defeating Brock for the Boulder Badge and also stealing the old amber fossil from the Pewter Museum to make a point. Now we continue the story. As per the instructions given to him by Giovanni, Red continued on to his path to Mount Moon, where he was supposed to meet with the B team of the Team Rocket and carry out a Pokemon extraction mission. He arrived at the entrance of the Mount Moon to meet the B Squad. The captain of the B Squad, Tabitha, introduced himself to Red. But he was surprisingly pretty hostile towards the young trainer. He told Red that a lot of trainers have come out of the Rainbow Rocket Foundation, but none of them has so far shown to be much of a promise, and he hopes that Red will be different from them. Red is put off by this attitude, and he asks Tabitha that what is the reason for so much hostility towards the Foundation members. Is it because Tabitha wanted to go to the Foundation and he was rejected? Or is it because he was not man enough to go to the Foundation to begin with? This immediately angers Tabitha, and he tells Red that after this mission is done, they will settle their score eventually. Red just smirks as the other grunts smile uncomfortably, not sure what exactly is going on. Tabitha goes on to tell Red that their main mission in Mount Moon is to locate a giant moonstone, which is rumored to attract all the Clefairies and the Clefables, and then they will capture all of them. Red decides to go with the plan. As they enter the cave, the four of them split into groups of two. Tabitha decides to keep Red in his group as they start to search for the moonstone. They constantly bicker amongst themselves, and seeing the rocket logo, all the trainers inside Mount Moon immediately start to evacuate the cave. After hours of searching, they are finally able to locate the giant moonstone as they began their preparation to capture the Clefairies and the Clefables. However, unbeknownst to them, the entire Pewter police force, alerted after Red's shenanigans at the museum, have decided to enter their entire force into Mount Moon to capture as many rocket runs as possible. Red and Tabitha's plan is going flawless, and soon enough, all the Clefairies and the Clefables of the cave start to gather around the moonstone and dance. This is where Tabitha releases his electric net, which electrocutes the fairy types and paralyzes them. As Red sees the Pokemon suffering, he immediately objects to this, saying that they should just capture them already and not make them suffer for long. Tabitha tells Red to shut up and that he has been in charge of this capture mission for a long time and he knows exactly what to do. So Red should just shut up and mind his own business. Red tells him to just get over with it as they start to capture the Pokemon. After capturing a lot of the Pokemon, Red tells Tabitha to stop, as these are most probably the entire population living in the Mount Moon, and if they capture all of them, they will essentially be ridding Mount Moon entirely of the Clefairies and the Clefables, and this is the only place in the entire Kanto region where we can find this Pokemon. So if they go ahead with this plan, they will be essentially destroying an entire Pokemon species and ecosystem. Tabitha tells Red that that is none of their concern, and he should just mind his own business for now. Red is angered, and this is in many ways the last straw for him. He agreed to join Team Rocket to save his neck and follow his dream, but this was going too far. This was essentially ruining an entire species right in front of him. So he decides to intervene and send out his Sneasel to blow out his cover. He was ready to do this, but before he could, the other grunt came running into their area. He told them that their teammate has been captured and the entire Pewter City police force is on them. He tells them that they should be ready, and although he managed to take a few of them out, most of them are still remaining, and they will be coming for them soon. Soon enough, the entire police force arrives, and a huge battle ensues between Team Rocket and the police force. The police force's team comprises of Growlithe and Arcanine owned by Officer Jenny. And surprisingly, Team Rocket is having quite a bit of difficult time against the fire types. Red is unable to use his Scyther or Sneasel because he does not want to reveal to Team Rocket that he still has the Sneasel and he caught a Scyther, especially not to Tabitha. The battle is going fairly one-sided in the favor of the police, but however Tabitha is able to use his Golbat to major success, taking out all the Growlithes. In the end, however, Arcanine is able to take down all of Red's, the Grunts, and Tabitha's Pokemon. Tabitha, however, tells them that he still has his ace up his sleeve as he sends out his Muck. These two huge monsters go to battle, shaking up the entire cave. In the middle of this, Tabitha starts to capture the remaining Clefairies and Clefable, eventually capturing all of them, and also taking the Moonstone with him. Eventually, Muck is able to not defeat but for some time hold down Arcanine, and this gives them a few seconds to escape the grasp of the police. However, this does not go exactly to plan, as the remaining Grunt was eventually captured, and in the end, Red and Tabitha were the only one to make it out of the mission. Tabitha tells Red that he will definitely be dealing with him later, and for his sake, he better hope that Giovanni never pairs those two together again. Red Red decides to just walk to the Cerulean city and challenge the gym to get his mind off this, as he is pretty shaken up after noticing all the Clefairies and Clefables being captured. As he is walking by, he spots a Bellsprout, who is doing some weird kind of training. What it looks like is it's practicing punching and kicking, which is really odd for a Pokemon of Bellsprout species. Red decides to test it and sends out his Sneasel. He tells Sneasel not to use any Ice type moves and hold back a bit, just to see where Bellsprout's strengths are at. Seeing Sneasel as a sparring partner, Bellsprout immediately goes to war with it. It wraps Sneasel's leg in its vines and starts to slam him around. Sneasel is eventually able to break free, and after a fun battle between them two, both of them not using any attacks and just sparring physically, Sneasel is able to come out on top. Red decides to capture Bellsprout as he sees a lot of promise in the grass type. After that, Red wears his shadow outfit and arrives to the Cerulean city. He immediately heads off to the Cerulean Gym to challenge the gym leader Misty. Misty tells him that she's been expecting him after the message he sent to Brock. And Red, disguised as Shadow, tells her to get on with the battle, as he does not have enough time. Misty tells that she thinks this attitude is really cute, but it is not going to help him in the battle, none whatsoever. The battle begins as Red sends out his Bellsprout and Misty sends out her Seeking. Bellsprout is a bit healed up after a visit to the Pokemon Center, so it's basically ready to go. Ash decides to test out its moves and orders a Razor Leaf, which Seeking is able to deflect using its Horn Drill. After this, Seeking disappears underwater and starts to launch sneak attacks at Bellsprout using Horn Attack. This continues for a while as Bellsprout is unable to conceive Seeking's movement and is caught again and again. Then it strikes to Ash that he can just use the technique that Bellsprout used against Sneasel, and he tells Bellsprout that the next time Seeking emerges from underwater to just wrap his vines around Seeking. This works as Bellsprout is able to get a hold of Seeking and prevent it from escaping again. He follows this up by a close range Razor Leaf, which causes a lot of damage. However, Seeking proves to be much stronger than Bellsprout and drags it underwater. This is exactly what Ash wanted, as after Bellsprout lets go of Seeking, Seeking starts to launch a flurry of horn attacks. Ash simply tells Bellsprout to use its newest move, Poison Powder, underwater, and this contaminates the entire swimming pool, essentially preventing Misty from using her most effective technique, that is using the water field to her advantage. Seeking is forced to come out due to being heavily poisoned by the infested water, and is taken down by a razor leaf, giving Bellsprout its first victory ever in a Pokemon battle. Ash Red is super proud and tells Misty that this is only a sign of things to come. But Misty is now pissed. She sends out her Gyarados and orders a flamethrower, and before Red could react even a bit, Bellsprout is taken out. Red then sends out his Scyther to deal with Gyarados. Red realizes that none of the gym leaders are going to hold back even a little bit on him, as he essentially destroyed their ego after he defeated Brock so easily. Gyarados goes for another flamethrower, but Red orders Scyther to dodge using double team, and this surprisingly works. Red then orders Scyther to splash some of the contaminated water onto Gyarados, poisoning Gyarados too, and essentially putting it on a timer. This is followed by a surprising, frightening speed of flurry attacks, which Fury Cutters, which eventually manages to take Gyarados out, giving Red the lead once again. Misty's last Pokemon is Starmie, and this is going to be a tough battle. Red knows that Fury Cutter will cause a lot of damage on the Water Psychic type, but surprisingly he never gets a chance to execute that move, as Starmie proves to be faster than Scyther and grabs it using its Psychic attack, and then it submerges Scyther into the toxic water and basically starts to drown it, not allowing it to get up. Scyther is infested by the poison and is taking damage gradually, not only because of the poison but also because of being basically drowned into the water. Eventually it's able to break free and rise up, though being heavily damaged. But this is exactly what Misty wanted, as she follows it up with an Ice Beam attack, taking Scyther out and bringing Red down to his last Pokemon. Red sends out his Sneasel, and this is an epic battle, as both Pokemon are even in speed. Sneasel is able to dodge a Water Pulse by jumping over it and connecting with a Night Slash, which causes a lot of damage on Starmie. Then surprisingly Misty orders Starmie to go underwater, after firing off a Water Pulse as a distraction. Red tells her that this is a huge mistake, as the water is heavily contaminated by the poison powder, and it is still having an effect. Misty tells Red not to get cocky, as she orders Starmie to use camouflage, and this turns Starmie into a poison type. Red thinks to himself that this is bad, as now Misty essentially has the advantage once again, and 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 Sneasel's dark type moves won't do super effective damage on Starmie. Starmie then follows it up with a barrage of water pulses from underwater. Sneasel is able to dodge a few of them, but a few of them hit it, causing a lot of damage. Red then orders Sneasel to use Ice Beam to counter the water pulse, causing some of the water to be frozen. This gives Red the idea. He orders Sneasel to jump up and use Ice Beam on the pool, and this eventually results in the pool being frozen in ice and trapping Starmie underneath, essentially turning the table on Misty, like she did to Scyther. Misty tells Red that this is not going to work, as she orders Starmie to use camouflage once again, and this time this turns Starmie into an ice type, and Starmie is able to break through the ice. But this is exactly what Red wanted. He orders Sneasel to go for Brick Break, and it hits. And this time, because Starmie being ice type, it is super effective and it takes Starmie out, giving Red the victory and the Cascade badge. Misty is really disappointed at her loss, as Red basically played her at her own game and defeated her quite soundly. Red asks Misty where the next gym is, and she reluctantly tells him that it's in Vermilion City. And Red tells Misty to make sure to give the gym leader a message to keep training, as the next time he beats one of them, he does not want any excuses. That night, Red is sleeping at the Rocket hideout in the Cerulean City, as because of his fugitive status, he cannot sleep in the Pokemon Center. As he's sleeping, he starts to slowly sink into a nightmare. In his dream, he sees himself back in Mount Moon, surrounded by the Clefairies and the Clefable, as they all started dancing around him. Red starts to tell them that he's really sorry for not protecting them, as tears start to roll down his face. But suddenly something weird starts to happen. An ominous presence surrounds the cave, and the Clefairy starts to take on a more demonic appearance as their entire face starts to surround in itself in purple aura. And then emerges a weird looking Pokemon. It looks frightening and demonic, and it starts to approach Red. Red takes a step back, telling it not to get any closer. But the demonic Pokemon simply grabs Red's hand and pulls out something. It's Red in his shadow outfit, and it almost seems like the Pokemon basically splitted Red's soul in two. Red is then eventually woken up by the sound of a scuffle. He sees that Sneasel is battling a wild Gengar, which had apparently snuck into the hideout. Red figures out that this is the reason for his nightmares, but he still somehow believes that this Gengar and the Clefable are somehow connected, as there is no way Gengar could have known his worst nightmare at this point. Red decides to take a walk around the night city, wearing his mask. He hears some scuffle going around near a household. As he follows it, he sees a rocket grunt trying to break into a house. He immediately sends out his Bellsprout, who takes the rocket grunt out, using its wings to trip it. Red asks the rocket grunt what is he doing in at this time, and he tells Red that he is trying to rob the house because it because it is rumored to have a technical machine which can teach any Pokemon the dig move, as the dig move is really handy in escaping certain situations. Red asks him that who sent him, as far as he knows, there is no orders from Giovanni, and the last mission that Team Rocket carried out was at Mount Moon. The grunt asks Red how could he possibly know all this, and Red tells him that he should not stress with the details. Red once again asked him that who sent him, and the grunt reluctantly tells him that Tabitha did. Red is pleased to hear this, and he asks the grunt where can he find Tabitha, and the grunt tells Red that if he allows him to escape, he will make sure to alert Tabitha of its presence, and the next morning he can meet him in the Nugget Bridge. Red tells the grunt that if he double crosses him, he will hunt him down and make him pay. The grunt is obviously scared at this threat by a masked man in the middle of the night, so he decides to comply with his wishes and tell Tabitha to meet this masked man the next morning. They meet in the Nugget Bridge, and Red tells Tabitha, that who does not know about his identity, that this is where Tabitha's reign of terror comes to an end. Tabitha asks him that how could he possibly know who he was, and Red tells him that he knows everything, he sees every injustice that goes around in the Kanto region, and he is going to make the Team Rocket pay. Tabitha just starts laughing maniacally, and as he tells Red that there is no chance that a twerp like him could ever beat the king of the Nugget Bridge. The battle begins as Tabitha sends out his Muck and Red goes with Sneasel. And this is a tough battle for Sneasel, as he is not able to connect with any major damage due to Muck's insane durability. Sneasel manages to dodge a few sludge bombs and is able to getting close on Muck, connecting with a Night Slash. Muck tries to go for a sludge bomb again, but Sneasel goes for an ice beam straight into its mouth, freezing it, and thereby disabling Muck from using further sludge bombs. Sneasel continues with another barrage of attacks before finishing Muck off with an icicle crash. Red, having won the battle, tells Tabitha to come along with him as they are going to the police station. Tabitha tells Red that he has no intention of going to the police station, as Red has straight away fallen into his trap. Just then, many rocket guns starts to surround Red. Red cannot recognize any of them, as he figures out that Tabitha has a few grunts up his sleeve who exclusively follow his orders only. Red decides that this is not a good situation, as he needs to get out of here now. But battling so many opponents at once could possibly lead to him revealing his cover. Just then, a water turtle jumps out of the water onto the bridge. It looks at all of the trainers around it and uses a mist attack. This blinds all of them. However, fortunately, Red's mask has the night vision enabled, which allows him to see through the mist, and he is able to escape the Nugget Bridge, thereby preventing his capture. He meets the trainer of the water hotel, a girl who introduces herself as Leaf, as she tells Red that he owes her. And guys, this is where I will be ending this part. Sorry if I stuttered a lot because I'm like really sick right now, and I just wanted to make this video because I was so excited about this part. So I hope you guys like it. Take it easy and God bless.